Coming to you from the LoadingReadyRun orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast.
We're not live.
Which is, no.
No, this is pre-recorded. No, this is post-recorded.
Yeah.
Wait, you can't record it after we do it.
Yeah, you can.
No.
Yeah.
We have that technology.
Anyway.
I like that is actually like a pretty common thing now. The like
Post-recording?
Yeah, post-recording with cameras and stuff, or even with like capture things. You'd be like the capture card we have has a functionality where it's got like it comes with this big red button, and you can set it so it like is always capturing and discarding stuff.
Okay.
And so you'd be
so
like,
it's
I
like-
did something cool, bang, hit the button,
So it's just like
okay.
and then it
that's
goes
how,
back a minute or whatever.
Right.
Stuff.
That's how the Phantom cameras work. is
Yeah.
that they buffer, and then you just like hit it when you want to grab a section.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's actually it's actually fairly common these days. A lot of cameras have that functionality. But so yes, you can post record.
See?
Yeah, there you go.
My dad could beat up your dad.
Dad?
Okay.
Papa?
Anyway.
So last week we did some AskLRR, but today we thought we would do some AdviceLRR. So this is like AskLRR's advice on things.
Yeah.
Should we disclaim this by saying we're not psychics, and if this makes your life worse, it's not our fault?
Oh, it's totally our fault, but we're
Okay.
not liable for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Please
That's
take
legally
everything,
binding.
anything the Loading Ready Run crew says with the amount of salt
A
that
geode of
required.
salt.
Yes.
Yeah. We are not doctors or qualified or even really high-functioning human beings in any way.
Speak for yourself. All right, let's questions.
So, yes. So James is gonna select some questions, and we'll see what our panel of experts has to say.
We just explained we're not experts.
We're experts in answering AdviceLRR questions.
Okay.
That's where our expertise lies.
There are no more expert people at sitting in these chairs in this relative position to one another than us.
You're not
Exactly.
even wrong.
All right, are you guys ready?
Yes.
No.
Here we go. The very first question, which I'm asking because I tweeted this earlier, and this was actually the first question asked was, what's the best way to hide a body?
That's an interesting question.
Isn't it you saw it into pieces, put it in a dumpster, and there's like a quart of gasoline or something? Or gallon? Several
I
gallons?
usually use my bodies to house living humans.
Ah, yes.
I see.
Yeah, wait, what?
I like the way you,
Exactly.
Whose skin are you wearing?
I like the way
Cameron's.
I like the way you said that, as if there's like a generally
Like,
accepted way.
there's a
to
converged upon solution.
I've heard that there is one.
Heard from who? I don't know. Where?
Stop going on 4chan, dude.
It's like that's how to get rid of a body. We did a whole video about this a long time ago.
Yeah, you
You
just
should probably
Weekend at
not
Bernie's.
follow any of the things in there.
No,
But yeah, if you do have to get rid of a body, the Weekend at Bernie's method, where you just basically
pretend it's not dead.
pretend, just pretend that it's not happening.
Pretend everything is fine.
That's how I get rid of a lot of things in my life.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, just ignore them.
just ignore them.
And then they
and
go away, or they
and
get so bad
pretend that they're not
you
a
have
thing.
to ignore them. Hide it in a police station.
I like you ignore them until it gets so bad that you have to ignore it.
All right, I think that's enough for the ways I have body. Let's ask a real question.
All right.
I don't actually know if any of you have any experience here, although I don't know. Tips for dating in college.
College.
Oh.
Man.
Which I guess we could pretty easily turn into tips for meeting
dating,
new people in college would also be,
Um.
I think, acceptable.
Avoid your own faculty.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I mean, like, you don't want to date with people that you see in class all the time, because if it
That's what
goes,
I've
it's like
heard.
dating in the workplace, right?
So like I have almost no experience dating. Weirdly enough, despite having had a reasonable number of girlfriends in my lifetime, I don't know a thing about dating.
Yeah,
It just
well, me
sort of-
neither. Like, yeah.
I don't actually know how that happens. You know.
It's I feel like you're saying with the avoid like people in your faculty, and it's always like avoid your work people and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think the real key is you got to get like the third place. You know, they always talk about there's always this idea of
the
like
workplace,
there's like
the home.
home, workplace, and then somewhere else. So
Well, I mean,
you know,
have
doing-
the rest of the student tree to pick from.
but I mean like you need some way to meet people, right?
Right.
If you're only at your class or your job where you don't necessarily want to get into a relationship with people, and then you go home, and the chances of somebody, you know, breaking into your house and then you falling in love with them are pretty slim.
Yeah, unless you're in like a Spider Robinson short story.
No. At home is where you date your waifus.
Yeah,
right.
no, yeah.
So limitless
So
supply.
so there's like the you know, hobbies, extracurricular activities,
Yeah, studying
Other-
in a cafe, I don't know.
other things.
I actually have never, now that I think about it, I've never dated in the way that it's presented in popular
Yeah.
media.
I mean,
I
from
usually-
what I hear, it sounds awful, if
Yeah.
I'm perfectly honest.
And I mean, like, the whole workplace thing is also just like mainly it's one of those caveats that that are also solved by just having good relationships, right?
Right, mature relationships.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe you just like sidestep the whole sort of like mating ritual bullshit, make some friends, and then maybe make them more friends. Or not.
I mean, the principle for like meeting people and meeting people in a romantic way is basically the same objective.
Yeah.
It's just depends on the people you meet, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's the larger thing of how do you meet people in college that are interesting people that you want to hang out with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, all the friends that I made in university were people that I studied with, essentially, because you would do I always thought of it as kind of like pack hunting,
Yeah.
right? Like humans are very good at social problem solving, right? So when I studied in a group with people, I found it far more productive because somebody won't get something and you have a chance, like, usually in a group, everyone, between the group, you will have a perfect understanding of all the material, right? And I always found it really helpful to explain things to people because I don't actually know if the idea of different learning styles is now being borne out experimentally or if was just a bad idea that somebody had. But I find that I learn really well when I'm asked to explain things to people.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how that to me that always is like the sort of pinnacle of the understanding, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
to
exactly.
explain
Like,
it.
if you have to have a very good understanding in order to like absorb something, grasp it internally, and then be able to articulate it in your own words. But I guess we're getting kind of away from the thing.
Yeah, but how do you do science?
Yeah.
So-
no, like I mean, like
Dating
how do you
science.
make friends in college, and then how do
God.
you meet like a partner?
You know, I always felt that sort of thing was, you know how when you try to observe very, very small things, and if you shine light on them, you distort the image? It's kind of like that for dating. It's like if you're trying to date somebody, maybe you're already screwing it up.
Yeah.
It is just meet as many.
Just like,
cool-
how do I women? It's like, well, I'm afraid you already fucked up.
Yeah.
meet as many people as you can, and maybe one of those people will like you,
Yeah, I mean,
or
just
many
like,
of those people will
Get
like
Tinder
you. Or Grindr,
or Grindr,
you wanna
depending what
Netflix.
you're into.
whatever you're into.
I wonder how many subcategories of that app there are. It's like a one for every sort of, I don't know.
All right, you guys ready for your next
So
question?
yeah,
Sorry, we're no good at all.
Yeah.
basically we have no interest, no advice on that topic. Sorry.
All right.
Be yourself.
I do feel like all three of you are.
Be yourself, and eventually people will just wander around. The worst advice.
It's maybe not even crazy.
All right, here we go. Do you have any advice for focusing on a single project? I have lots of things I want to do, but can't decide what to try first.
Ooh, okay, so this is a good idea. I just want to emphasize that, like picking one thing. Like it's really hard to give this advice in general terms because it's like I don't know what kind of projects you're trying to pick from, and how. Like, I think you have to subjectively assess which one you like the most,
Mm-hmm.
but it might not be the one you like the most. Like, for example, I started my comic Dregs because it was a project I couldn't do wrong and stood to learn a lot from.
Right. Right.
It's not, because I have another project that is my sort of dream project that I'm going to do, but I don't think that my skill is at a level where I can deliver what I want out of it.
Right. Right.
So I
right.
decided to do this one instead. So I think you need to honestly assess, what your projected outcome for these projects are, and try to settle on one that you think is optimal, or at least, maybe you want to learn from something, maybe you already know what you're doing and you want to try something new. I feel as though only you can answer those questions, and then once you've sort of narrowed down on, like, there's other factors, right? Like timeline, maybe even equipment, opportunities, stuff like that. These are all factors that only you know and only you can assess. I mean, like, maybe just write them all down. It's like, okay, which one of these is the best? Well, for various interpretations of best.
Yeah, like I like the idea of, like, kind of itemizing what you need to get done, because that can kind of help you break it down into what feel like much more achievable chunks. But, like, I think the worst advice I ever heard for doing a project or working on something new was that, like, if it's ever hard, it's something you shouldn't do.
Boo.
Yeah.
No.
And it's like, no. It's like,
Who gave you that advice?
heard it from I think it was at a desert bus sometime in an interview. But it was like,
If it's hard, you should just quit.
yeah.
Oh,
but it's
God,
like
that's-
when I was working on, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of anything I've accomplished in my life. When I was doing my honors thesis, it sucked so hard.
Yeah.
It was miserable.
Yeah.
Except for the parts where I would make some kind of progress, which was amazing, right? Like, just transformatively amazing.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is, like, once you get past the first project you do, the first, like, big idea you have that you slog through is gonna suck.
Yeah. But
it
functioning
sucks-
as intended.
Yeah, it sucks largely because you don't know how good it is when it's completed, right? And once you've completed one, the next ones become easier just because you know that
Well, you establish
success
a
is
baseline.
possible, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you establish, like, your own standard. Like, if you haven't done anything, you have no idea how good you could be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe just doing that first project where you allow yourself to make a shitload of mistakes and learn a lot is very good.
Yeah, and I think the giving yourself permission to make mistakes is really important. And if there's one skill I've developed, it's being utterly unashamed of screwing up and making mistakes and being wrong.
So important. I can't
Yeah.
even, like...
Like, I mean, this is something I do on stream, even playing games, right? I mean, like, making mistakes, like, there is no environment where you are permitted to make mistakes with fewer consequences than playing a video game.
Yep.
Right? Like, in Magic, if you want to draft a weird deck, there's, like, 0 consequences for doing that.
Yeah. I mean, like,
None.
any sort of game setting, that's kind of some of the appeals, that you
Yeah.
can make these errors without consequence. We are conditioned to think that failure is the worst situation you can be in, which is a load of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, like,
Failure's super valuable.
like, I was reading a paper, a paper by a guy named Whitesides. It was a chemistry paper. He's talking about how we need to reevaluate what we think chemistry is, and he was talking about, like, all the different kinds of chemistry he's done. Whatever. The point he makes very early on in the paper is that good science is science that fails often, early, and in meaningful ways, right? Like, the good experiments you can run, the best experiments, are the ones that produce results quickly and fail clearly.
Right.
Right? Like, produce, like, very definable failures.
Well, I was gonna say it's just like that didn't work is a really
yeah.
useful, contrasting.
Yeah,
kind of-
exactly. And you can only do that if you're unafraid of failure.
And there is also a lot of, there's a big sort of momentum aspect too, where you have to, where if you do have, some big project that you're trying to do, the whole idea of sort of splitting it up into little bits and giving yourself that kind of mental, the little like whatever dopamine hit of accomplishing something sort of that you can see, even if it's not, the full project, but just accomplishing some small aspect of it. It just gets you going on something.
I was sketching for years and years and years until I started trying to take it more seriously in the last couple years. And things like the daily drawing challenges and like daily bot and all of these like daily exercises were enormously helpful for both technique and confidence, because like you do something every single day, you will just get better.
Yeah.
Incrementally. And excuse me, being able to see that progress is really great.
Yeah, like when I was doing life drawing, I haven't been for a couple of months because life's been crazy, which is an excuse, and I need to go back. But like when I started off, I was not good at it at all. And like over the course of like the 18 months that I was doing it regularly, I got better bit by bit. And didn't really see it happening, but if I compare the drawings I did at the beginning to the ones I did, the last time I went, I'm like, well, these still aren't good, but they're better, right?
It's the question is about the idea of like if you've got 5 or 6 different projects that you're interested in, the idea of sort of focusing in on one of them, and I think at a certain point it does have to be, can be kind of a little arbitrary.
Yeah,
I think that like that focus is important.
Well,
but it's like, in some ways, like if you've got 5 different projects that you want to do, if there's one of them that where you can see like, oh hey, where I was working on some stuff for like the overlay, and there's various different features that I want to have for it for the Loading Ready Live overlay, and that there's various things that I want to do with it. But if you sort of take one aspect of it, or if you see all those features and you're like, that's a really big part, that's a really big thing, that's going to take a lot of work. This thing's a really big thing, it's going to take a lot of work. If there's one of these projects that you want to do that does have some sort of quick outcome, where you can sort of do that almost as kind of like a priming the pump kind of thing, where you kind of do that and it's like, yeah, I accomplished something, I'm awesome. Maybe I can try, now I can, focus on a different thing.
I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that try to narrow your choices, and then if you really can't pick between those, coin flip. Because the most important choice is to start right now. I think it's more important that you get started on something than to allow yourself to be paralyzed by indecision, because that's how your brain tricks you, is it doesn't want you to do stuff. So it'll be like, oh, let's deliberate over all these great options, and then your brain's a bastard, and it will do everything in its power to keep you from working. So you have to trick it.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up was that there is more than one strategy to completing things, because I've actually found that I am more productive when I have 2 or 3 projects on the go, and I can focus on one until I run into a frustration with it, and then I can go to a different one and do more work on that.
Interesting.
And then kind of like run into a problem with that one or get bored of it and move back to the original one again.
There's that.
And then I have like I've taken a break from it, right? In a certain respect, right? Like I've taken a break from one project to work on another one, so I'm remaining productive, but I've I'm kind of refreshed when I come back to the first one.
And there's that thing where like if you are stuck on on something like you kind of hit a wall, not working on it for a while can actually be very productive. You know, your sort of subconscious mind kind of muddles over.
Yeah, or like or you stop focusing on the thing that's working and you come back to it and you're like the most frustrating thing in the world is like working on a project, running into a brick wall, not being able to make any progress, focusing on it for like an hour, going away, coming back, being frustrated, looking at it again after a short break and being like, oh, well, you just do this. And this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
and you're like,
it's like, semicolon wasn't
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Oh, I used the wrong or I didn't declare a variable.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Right.
Like, taking breaks is super important. And like the excuse people have when they're doing like late night projects that are due in the morning, and they find themselves like doing the dishes and sweeping their apartment and like doing laundry and stuff, that actually is valuable, right? That's not necessarily procrastination, right?
So
sometimes you
have
actually
a clean house afterwards. Too.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just need a break.
Like, yeah, take, a minute to sort of reassess and like rebuild your super meter and then like blow it off again.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's a
Back
video
off,
game.
lower your shield. Right.
Wait till your endurance rallies.
Yeah. Yeah, smash a pot.
Smash a pot. We should
All
just
right.
have like pot smashes. Anywho.
All right, you guys ready for your next question?
Yeah.
We kind of answer. Our answers are kind of like a cloud around the question.
Yeah.
We're answering.
we
We're answering a
definitely-
lot of questions that are like around the question. I don't know if we're actually answering the question.
Please
we're
enjoy our quantum state
Yeah.
answers.
We're avoiding the actual question and talking about what we want to talk about.
That sounds fair. All right, here is your next question. What is the best way to surprise someone?
Ooh. Now, I think that depends largely on what your objective is.
Cash.
Surprise
Cash.
them with cash.
Just with cash.
My
Like, here's $500.
what?
That would be very surprising.
They start looking around for cameras, or like a guy hiding behind in an alleyway with like a stick.
Yeah, exactly. If you
Hiding
ever
in an
want to
alleyway
surprise
with a
me,
stick, also a pretty good way of
cash
surprise.
is really good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think my favorite kind of surprises are the ones intended to delight. So if you
Cash.
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 That works for everybody. But if you identify something that they really, really like and do it, to the 10th power, and they don't expect it, they'll be like, "Oh man, you totally made my day. That's super sweet." So I don't know, make friends with somebody, find out what they like, and then just give them a gross of it
Yeah.
for no reason.
Make friends with somebody.
No strings
Find out their
attached.
Yeah,
weaknesses.
no strings attached.
Find out their weaknesses and then very softly play to them.
Yeah, I always liked in terms of surprises that have been foisted upon me, been done to me, as opposed to like giving some there's sort of a present where it's just like, oh hey, I gave you something that wasn't before, but actually like having something like happen, that's surprising and also good, hopefully.
Yeah. Andrew Ferguson is really
He's
good at
nice.
surprises.
Yeah, no, yes.
He also gives incredible gifts.
Yeah, Andrew is actually like a masterclass in delighting people.
It's pretty great. I mean, and sometimes entirely unexpected things, like things you didn't know you wanted.
Yeah.
Like he came down to YJ one time and was just like, "I got something for you," and in his trunk was that neckbeard Dakimakura.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love this, and I had no idea I wanted one. But it's now my boyfriend. So.
All right.
Yeah. I think, and what makes Andrew so successful at it is that he listens to people and he's very good at understanding people. He pays attention. He gets you, and he is utterly unpretentious about his gifts.
Yeah,
and his surprises.
They feel extremely genuine, which I value a lot.
Yeah, Andrew
I
will give you
love
something because he thinks it's awesome.
It's an authentic 6 foot tall dick butt.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what's important.
Or like when I got the John Cena standee in the mail. With like, the only shame is that like he had to ask me. It's like, hey, did you get anything in the mail? And I was like, I don't know, and I did. I was like, what did you send me? And on the box it was like WWE Enterprise. It's like, I know exactly what this is now. But it was so cool because it was a present sent to delight me.
Yeah.
For no reason, with no strings attached. And it was just like, this is so great.
Yeah.
I'm not being bought, and he did it because it would make me smile.
Yeah.
Authenticity is, ooh, I love it so much.
And, you know, if you really want to surprise someone and you're desperate and, you know, maybe short of a little cash, hide in the bushes with a hockey mask always works.
Yeah, and they'll be so happy to be alive afterwards.
Yeah.
Although, like,
they'll feel like a new lease on life.
all I can think about though, whenever I hear about like surprises, is the video from like a high school where like the AV club is like interviewing this one guy in the hallway.
Oh my God.
And then from behind them, this guy in a gorilla mask pops up from a garbage can. And it's like,
dude
boom!
one-shots
yeah,
him.
And the dude just turns around as a reflex and drills him in the head really hard, and he falls back into the garbage can. The lid falls down, and the guy who punched him is like, "Oh!"
He just runs.
Yeah, because he was like, it was just briefly. It must have been staged, because otherwise it was too perfect. Right, it was too perfect. But he just turns around and like, I think he might be dead.
You just like open it and there's just chum.
Yeah, like there's just the gorilla mask stuck to the wall as
make
jibs
sure
fall out of it.
Yeah, make sure that the person you're trying to surprise doesn't have like real hair trigger reflexes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try surprising people in open carry states.
Good advice, Alex.
All right.
Advice.
All right.
All right.
Or concealed carry.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I think it's the concealed carry that's scarier.
Anywhere with guns. All right, wouldn't be a loading ready run anything without at least one thing about magic. So, my storage box for white magic cards that don't get binder status is overflowing. What should I do about this?
Only white magic cards.
You should probably purge those in some way, because at a certain point, your collection just becomes clutter.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the traditional thing is get somebody else into Magic and then be like, oh, you just Magic here. As a really generous thing, I'm going to give you all of these cards that are actually shit.
Yeah, your draft shash is kind of like the sourdough starter.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, when you would, in like the 60s or 70s, when you moved into a new neighborhood, your neighbors would show up with like, you know, a jar of sourdough starter, which is like a yeast culture that's used for making sourdough bread. And you'd be like, oh, thank you, now I can make bread. And what you didn't really know was that this was actually a curse.
Well, I think in a podcast we talked the like friendship bread.
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
Yeah, Graham had that.
Yeah, that stuff
the
where it's
bag.
like you have to keep
Mush the bag.
making it, or else it'll stop working, and it like just creates more and more.
Yeah.
It's a yeasty chain letter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's
A living chain letter.
Yeah, it's
And
one of
that's-
those things where you think about it and you're like, I think this sourdough culture is actually Earth's dominant organism because it is using us,
As its vector.
yeah, as its substrate.
So
Wow.
yeah, magic cards are basically the same concept. I'm sure you received mini magic cards when you first joined. So find somebody who's just joined and dump them all on that person.
The other productive way I've heard to gift magic cards to someone is to take them to a shelter,
Ooh, yeah.
like a women's shelter, because they will usually have kids.
Yeah, there's often kids there.
Okay.
Yeah, and the kids need toys.
I'd be like, why are these?
They need toys that are going to cost tons of money later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can get them. You hook them real good right there.
You come real good and you just
You're like, why
destroy
is-
all those homes.
Why are these only white cards?
Oh dear. But yeah, the one big issue with getting rid of magic cards is they're not recyclable.
Yeah,
They cannot be recycled because of
Yeah.
the way they're constructed. So
yeah, because they've got the plastic.
I think the ideal thing is to give them to someone else.
Yeah.
Make it their problem.
Like,
I mean,
I found Puka Trade is actually surprisingly useful for getting rid of, like, the dollar.
Yeah,
tier
well,
things.
that'll get your rares, but it's like if you have a heap of uncommons and
Yeah.
Yeah.
commons, that's really hard to shift because
yeah.
retailers don't want them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your best bet is actually just finding someone to play with them and give them. So,
Yeah.
all right, got there.
All right, that's how you do it. Are you guys ready for a tougher question?
Okay.
How do you get out of a job you really need to get out of before you lose all creativity?
I have a good one for this.
Oh yeah.
When I first got out of university after completing my first degree, I got a job working at the phone company call center, and it paid like pretty good money. It was like in the $20 an hour range, which was also several years ago. So, I mean, that was pretty good money. We had a union, so we had good working conditions. I was well trained, and I was in the billing queue, which is the queue that people get put in when they push the button on their phone when they have a dispute with their bill.
Oh no.
So I got exclusively people who had been on hold for 45 minutes to 2 hours.
Wow.
And were drawing a line in the sand. They had found their hill to die on, and that hill was a 75-cent charge on their phone bill. And I was there to be the face of the powerful authority that had been stepping on them their entire life. And now they were going to take their stand against me.
Except you actually had no authority in terms of reducing their costs.
Yeah, so
So
like,
you were just like in the path of this hobnail boot stamping on a human face forever.
I was the hobnail.
Oh! That was the other way around. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, to them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was a ridge on the grip of the boot.
Yeah.
So, I was just right in there,
Okay.
like on the front line, or at least that's what it felt like a lot of the
Rasping
time.
their nose.
And one day I got to work, I sat down, and I put on my headset, and my finger hovered above the on-call button on the phone. And I got up, took off my headset, quit, like went up to my supervisor and I'm like, I'm resigning. And she was like, are you sure? And at this point, I think I was the second to last person out of my training group who hadn't quit. There was one person who had lasted longer, and he's still there, I think. But like out of the group of 12 people, I was number 11. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, okay, I need to go and get the shop steward, and she'll escort you out of the building, right?
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, and it's like that. I'm like, that's fair.
Sure, you're not.
I didn't
stealing
know
any
about
phones
that.
or
Yeah.
something.
When I got fired.
Yeah, well, I didn't take it personally, right? It's just what happens.
Yeah, no,
Right.
well, it kind of blindsided me because I didn't realize what was happening until after. I was like, oh, you don't want me to wreck the joint because
Yeah.
assholes would do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Because I was like, can I clear out my desk? And they sort of gave me this look. Because I was like, I just want to take my things. I don't, what? They're like, okay, we'll supervise you. And I was about halfway through getting my pens and shit. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, they don't want you stealing like a computer or something, I
and I
guess.
was like, haha, joke's on them. I took all your fonts and logos already.
And so like, moral of the story, the actual like answer to the question was I just quit one day because it was intolerable. And I went to the bus station and bought one of the month-long bus passes that are unlimited and got on a bus.
Ooh.
And I think I turned around and went home when I got to Ottawa.
Wow. It's a real like just coming to the end of your rope and just being like, you know what? I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like I had a similar experience working in home hardware. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and like the event that catalyzed it was after about I think I had worked there for about 4 months, and it was a few days before I quit, but I was talking with one of the older women who worked in the same job, and she had been an operator way back in the day, and now this was where all the operators were, and like all the older people who worked in the building were like just these cast iron, unyielding women, right, who had been working this job for like 20 years, and they were all awesome, and they they had been completely depleted of fucks decades
Just
before.
shit-proof people.
Yeah, utterly shit-proof people who did not have time for your bullshit. And like I was talking with one of them in the break room, and she's like, "I see you here, and I like you, and you remind me of me when I was your age." And like, she said, "So
away."
when yeah, it was like one of the things where she's like, anyway, the trick I found was I went home every day after work and I cried for like 45 minutes. And after doing that for about a year, I didn't mind anymore." And I was like, I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here.
That's actually that's a good
Wow.
that's a good indication. If your coworkers give you like a quick tip, it's like, hey, quick tip, go home, cry for 45 minutes every night. It really helps with this whole process.
Like, you know what's my favorite pick-me-up? I just grab a pencil and I jam it right into my thigh.
That's
as hard
indication
as I can,
that maybe this
over and
job
over.
is not a
Yeah.
God.
And I think like with the advice of how do I choose and start a project, how do you quit a job that's killing you? Just do it. Just do it.
yeah.
We cut to the gif of the early ejection seats where you'd pull the sheet over your face and you just
Yeah. And I realized that also, like, this is not a financially responsible decision.
no, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Because like there's finances and then there's yourself,
Yeah.
which is also important. And it's
Yeah.
just like, what good is all the money if you don't want to be alive?
Yeah. I think we have a friend who could talk in more detail about making that decision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know why I said that, because that begs the question of, I wonder who it is.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry. I interrupted you earlier.
No, yeah. So, just, is there any question here that we can't answer with like Shia LaBeouf?
Do it! Just
Yeah.
do it.
The how do you hide a body question, we probably don't want to answer with that.
Hide it, feed it to Shia LaBeouf.
Actual cannibal
Shia LaBeouf. Oh, man.
Are you guys ready for your next one?
Yes.
All right, I got a bunch here from one person. I'm just going to choose one of them, and I'm going to go with, for new content creators, do you think that consistency of schedule or consistency of quality is more important?
I think scheduling is the generally agreed upon one.
Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of amazing projects. They're like, this art's great, and I have no reason to check because they never fucking update.
Yeah, like for what's the webcomic that is amazing when he updates it every 6 years?
Perry Bible Fellowship?
Well, Perry Bible Fellowship, and
What does it look like?
it's the one with the two cats.
Fiji Cats.
Fiji cats.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
It
Yeah.
reminds me,
Yeah.
I haven't checked that in a really long time.
Yeah, he's probably got like a
Exactly.
new comic, right?
Because, the quality's good, but
Well-
if you never update, people will stop checking.
Yeah, and like that comic was really good when I last read it.
Yeah.
And
5 years ago.
Exactly.
And I mean, going back to the whole project thing, forcing yourself to do something on a consistent basis will naturally lead itself to increasing the quality.
Yeah, it's like if you have something for people to look at, like even once or several times a week, they will keep coming back to see what's new.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I think, Paul, you're absolutely correct there. Like, if you stick to a consistent schedule and produce things regularly, the quality will...
It will happen, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, that was one we answered unambiguously.
Yeah.
Good
All right,
job.
good hustle, team.
Ting.
All right, what about this
But then
one?
on the other hand,
Oh my God, Paul.
This reminds me of...
All right, I'm not sure about your experiences, but I'll ask the question. What's the best way to keep a long-distance relationship going? Does anybody actually have, of you three, any...
I do not.
I did for a while.
So you may
Then I
not be.
GTFO'd.
So you might not be the best one to answer that. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, probably not. I know Graham and Kathleen for a long time, and they just worked real hard at it.
Yeah. Erica Moen actually has a comic strip about exactly that.
Oh, okay.
About maintaining long distance relationships as far as like actual like communication and romance and sex. On her blog, Ojoy Sex Toy. So I don't know if we have the link to it, but that's a resource that I know of.
Yeah.
because she made it work with Matt for a long time, and then now they're
together.
I don't
could
think that's how that works at all.
That is exactly how it works.
You could just say now they're together. You have to do it the whole.
The pantomime is more fun.
Yeah, but like I think the takeaway that I've heard from people who have been in successful long distance relationships, you have to commit, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
I think you also want to have an idea that it's not going to always be a long distance relationship. I personally have never been in a long distance relationship, but I know a few people who have, and the ones that have ended up working out are the ones that not only knew that they would eventually be back together, but sort of had an idea of when that would be.
But like a plan?
At least a plan to make that happen.
It was like a temporary
If you just start a relationship apart, or something happens and you find yourself apart, if you don't have an idea of when you might be back together, it's probably not going to work. Yeah. And it's also just completely unfair to both you and your partner.
Yeah. And I mean, that's very, very difficult to... Yeah, you have to be able to visualize a future, right? Like in the Inferno, the archway, the entrance to hell is inscribed with the words "Abandon all hope," right? So, like that.
Sorry, how does this relate to relationships?
That's the
relationships are like the malbolge.
That's the definition of hell for Dante, right? Was
Abandon all hope.
Having no future, having no hope for the future, or that anything could ever be better, right? And you have to be able to have a vision for a better future and hope for a better future in order to make that happen, right? Like Noam Chomsky once said, like, if you believe there's no hope, then there will be no hope, right?
I mean, that's kind of the mechanism by which hope functions.
Yeah, like hope isn't just like, hope and optimism isn't just a blind, naive thing. It's a strategy for making a better world.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a strategy for making you do things that will make that happen.
Yeah.
Which I just said the same thing, only more explicitly.
Yeah.
So.
We have ourselves another magic question. Although you could turn this into general life advice, which is, I've been in a year-long bad play / losing streak with Magic. How do I pull myself out of it?
Wish I knew what format this was, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
Crush nerds.
I mean, with Magic, you do, I mean, there is that RNG aspect of Magic, right? And, there was, I remember, it's not Magic, but I remember in D&D, I was on a streak with my dice, where literally the DM was like, are you sure your dice aren't, like, gimped in some way?
Yeah.
He's like sometimes like he was like just trying to be a friend. He was like sometimes dice are messed up.
Yeah.
Because they're come out of thing. And I'm like, no, I've had these dice for a long time. They go both ways. Like it happens. And sure enough, sort of ended. But
I have two things about this that are similar. A friend of mine always had bad rolls playing D&D. Yeah. So in one campaign, he made a character that removed die rolls from the character. He was like, I am taking every opportunity to eliminate the RNG when I play this character. So he played a wizard that, I forget which school he took, but there's one school that has very few rules, or that ships the rolls to the DM. I think it was illusions, actually.
Right, because it's all resistance.
All resistance. So he's like, I am not rolling any dice with this character.
I like it.
I mean, so in the context of Magic, that would probably be like, just play Manaless Dredge. Yeah,
play Manaless Dredge, or play decks that are just extremely like consistent, or that play like 8 copies, like that play like, you have copies 1 through 4 because you're allowed one play set, and then you play copies 5 through 8 of a card that is functionally similar, right? And you try to eliminate the variability from the deck. The other story that was similar was back when I played Warhammer, there was a guy in our group who had notoriously awful luck. Like, this was a guy who could pick up a handful of like 20 dice, roll them, and get 40 ones.
Yikes.
right? Like that isn't an exaggeration. He would do that again and again and again, no matter the dice roll.
That's messed
Like
up.
luck doesn't exist. This guy had awful luck. And what he did was, again, he tried to eliminate RNG from his games, but he also was like, I looked at the lists where I had success, and I looked at the lists where I was failing, and I got rid of the lists where I was failing. And I focused on what works and built a list around that, and then I looked at what works in that, and I focused on that again. And he went through multiple iterations of looking at what worked, and he eliminated the things that didn't work.
Yeah.
And just like...
So, like, I don't know what format it is that they're talking about, and it could be a deck building thing. You know, I avoided the glib answer of, how many lands are you playing? But seriously, like, I don't know if you've been running the same deck, or if, like, you've tried several different decks. Like, just maybe try mixing it up, try different strategies, try different lists, try different cards.
And the other thing is, you know, he's talking about that not only just random stuff, but also misplays and things. And I mean, the biggest thing with misplays is, and I mean, it's really hard. You know, everybody struggles with it, but it's just not to do. You know, as much as possible, don't let the misplays cascade. Right?
Yeah, and rattle you.
Well, that's exactly how they kill you.
Frustration is the biggest cause of misplays.
Yeah.
Because then you get frustrated and you start trying to play faster, or you get mad at yourself because you did something dumb. You gotta just, you know, calm down and keep that, you know, keep the in your mind, you know that, you know how that you can play this game.
Yeah, exactly. Like
ultimately, it is just a game.
On stream, we misplay far less than we do in person, right?
Yeah.
I feel that's the case, right? Like I will be on stream with somebody, like streaming Magic with James or Graham, and I will like be thinking of the play I want to do, and we will talk it through. And chat is like 30 seconds behind us, right? So we'll see chat, you know, in the future.
Right.
But just the act of talking it out reduces it, right? So don't be afraid to take time, and like obviously you can't talk about
Play
it.
Two-Headed Giant.
Like you can't talk about it at the table, but don't be afraid to take like 10 seconds or even 5 seconds to think about your plays.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is a clock.
But not
the
that
clock
tight
gives
a clock.
you an hour
Yeah.
per round for a reason, right? Like don't be afraid to like the clock is present. It is not nearly as constraining as you think it is.
Yeah, and I mean, if making decisions does still stress you out so much that you can't hack it, play a deck that doesn't require a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, no deck actually plays itself.
Yeah.
But there are decks that have a much more straightforward strategy, just like ramp, donkey,
Yeah.
kill.
the other thing that can be good, you know, if you've sort of lost a bit of your confidence with Magic stuff, is, you know, playing some, you know, just a lot, you know, trying to go into this, like playing some real fun stuff. You know, just playing like, you know, Pack Wars, or playing with like pre-gen decks, or you know, some kitchen table stuff. Just you know, play stuff where the stakes are basically nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Just to, you know, just to get more kind of relaxed about it.
Rediscover
find
the
that-
joy of the game.
That can help. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I've found that a lot of my losses in games come when I get overconfident. So it's probably useful to always remember that every opponent in Magic is dangerous.
Yep.
And they remain dangerous until they are dead.
One is not zero.
Yep.
All right, you guys ready for your final question?
Oh boy.
We're going to end on a very serious question.
Oh no.
What's the best way to get a swallow to carry a coconut? See what I did there? I tricked you. I surprised you, in fact.
Put spread peanut butter on it.
Watch a film other than Monty Python. Several
Roids.
films have been made since that film was made.
Roids. Pigeon roids. Or, well, swallow roids.
Okay, when was Holy Grail made? Was it 80,
It was a long time ago.
82, 83?
I feel like it might even be a 70s movie.
Well, yeah.
It's probably 80s, but it could be 70s. I don't
trying to
actually
think of
know.
how old that
I'm a
movie is
fake
now.
nerd.
Is it 40 years old?
Is it?
It was made, oh, seriously? 1975.
It's over 40 years old now.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Wow.
get me wrong. It's
Still
a good.
good.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
good,
still great.
It's very good. But
How do you get a swallow to carry a coconut?
You
Yeah,
can.
I like the peanut butter one. I like just duct taping it to the swallow.
Make sure it's the big swallow though.
threaten its family.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like
Ask-
stuff a gun into the nest and just be like,
Yeah,
shit could happen, man.
yeah.
Pick up the pick it up.
Dress
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
dress the coconut up as a very attractive swallow.
Swallette.
A very attractive swallow of the opposite gender.
Or the preferred gender.
Yeah, the preferred gender.
Or a swallette.
That's like the Bugs Bunny method.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
wow.
yeah, exactly.
That's exactly it. You just like have all the like their eyes turn into hearts and they like suddenly become anti-gravity.
Yeah.
And they just like pick it up.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
Pick up the gun.
I'm crazy, man. I could do anything.
So yeah. All right.
We hope that our terrible advice was in some ways useful to you.
I hope that it was useful, if not useful to the actual person who asked the question. I hope that some of the things that we talked about while we were not answering people's questions were useful to other people.
Yeah. I mean, we talked around a lot of things. So we hope you have enjoyed this conversation.
It's less AdviceLRR and more LRR uses your questions as a jumping off point
We
to talk
taught
about
them
things.
how to avoid giving a direct answer.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to have a
Important
great political
advice.
career.
Yeah, and so thank you very much for watching and listening, or one or the other, or both. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by all you awesome people supporting us on our Patreon, patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. And you can help us out there, or you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, or subscribe to this channel on YouTube, and leave us comments about maybe if you have some advice for these people who we didn't give very good advice to. Feel free to put that in the comments in the YouTube page.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe they will come and read the question. Maybe they will come and read it and actually get some useful information. So, talk to you next week.